Hi guys, my name is Stephen, and on behalf of my entire legal defense team, Carl and Maddie, I'd like to welcome you back to my calibration channel. Today I want to discuss the proposition, all measurements are wrong, but they contain no errors. Now I'm hoping if you had the courage to even open up this video, you'll give me at least a few minutes to defend my position and move us along a little bit towards a better understanding of this topic. What makes sense to me is to break this proposition into two parts. So let's talk about all measurements are wrong. Now when I say that, I know that technically I'm correct. I also know this is not the most palatable form in which to present this idea. I think it's far more productive to say all measurements are only estimates of a particular parameter. As estimates, each of these instances contains an uncertainty element that we cannot get rid of no matter what we do. Now clearly when I do these videos, I'm hoping for at least a little bit of disagreement. In fact, I hear some now. There's someone saying, look, count the number of eggs in this carton. Tell me how many there is. I open it up, I see 11. You say, aha! I've given this carton to 45 different people. Each of them count 11. If everybody gets the same number, how can that be wrong? Well, that's pretty easy. What you asked me to do was not measure the number of eggs in there, but count the number of eggs. Counting and measuring are not the same thing. Now I hear someone else. Instead of counting the number of eggs in this carton, I'd like you to put it on this floor scale and weigh it 10 times. Okay, I do it. Every time I do it, I get 1.25 pounds or some other zany kind of number. You say, aha, you got the same number 10 times in a row. Doesn't that tell us that that measurement you made is the exactly right measurement? Actually, I hear this kind of question or argument fairly frequently. I'm going to stand by what I said. Every single measurement we can ever make contains a component of uncertainty that we cannot get rid of. In this particular instance, the reason we don't see any uncertainty or any variation is because there's hardly any resolution in the floor scale. If you gave me an adequate measuring device and asked me to measure this thing again 10 times, I could definitely show you the kind of variation that occurs with every single measurement. I'll just end this portion by doing a thought experiment. Now, the corporation that sponsors these videos, Stephen Perrier Enterprises, loves thought experiments because they're so cheap to do. Now, I will apologize in advance because my thought experiment is going to include God. Now, if you don't believe in God, or you think your God is different from my God, I'm going to ask you to suspend your feelings and responses, at least until you see where I'm going with this. I think it'll make sense in just a minute. Now, suppose you ask me to measure this carton of eggs 10 times with the kind of scale we discussed, where we can see variation in the different measurement instances that I make. Let's suppose I just finished the 5th measurement, recorded the data, and right about then, I feel a new presence in the room. Right beside me is God. God says, you know, Stephen, I see you're in the middle of taking 10 measurements of this egg carton. What do you say the next time you put that egg carton on that scale, you're going to get a perfect measurement. You're going to get the true value one time. Now, being a curious guy, I'd say definitely let's do it. So I grab the carton, put it on the scale, and I start to see a problem here right away. Now, I just put the carton on the scale, and I'm in the midst of a perfect measurement that's going to yield a true value. Except, look at the display. The display is only 4 or 5 digits wide, and I just created a perfect measurement. Isn't the result of a perfect measurement going to be extremely long, as in maybe infinitely long? That kind of number won't fit in my display. Here's another problem. If I were given the results of a perfect measurement, how could I capture that piece of information? If I used a memory device, it would suck up every memory location on the entire earth and still keep going, because I'm trying to handle a number that's extremely long. What I'm trying to point out here is if it were possible to get a perfect or true value, it would be pretty useless to us. In fact, when I think of the concept of a true value, I think it harkens back to a very, very old period in world history. I consider it part of the Romantic era, where people thought if we can just remove all the sources of human error, we'll be left with some perfect measurement. That era was hundreds of years ago. It's over. Let's deal with what we got today. Now, did you see the way I just changed my point of view? That's supposed to be the hallmark of a superior video. Now let's tackle the second part of my proposition. Measurements don't have errors. Now you may be asking yourself, what's he on about now? My interest in this particular topic was raised just a short time ago when I did my pipette video. When I was researching that, I got into all sorts of statistical applications and this and that. I read a paper that I thought was very powerful and very helpful by a guy named Dr. Don Wheeler. He was just defending one particular approach to the statistics of pipette use and making fun of another one. I thought his writing was really good and very convincing. However, the first sentence of his paper said, measurement errors are ubiquitous. Ubiquitous just means universal. And you know, that really stuck with me. And I started to think, this is a good paper, but that first sentence is the equivalent of just saying, To say something is universal is to say it has no power to differentiate different elements of what we're trying to separate out and learn more about. So if you want to say that every measurement has an uncertainty component, say so. Don't call it an error, because all you're doing is blaming the person that took the data. Otherwise, I believe the use of the phrase measurement error does the same thing as the concept of a true value. It takes us back to a previous era, long gone, which existed within a romantic framework. In other words, any measurement would be perfect if the silly operator didn't make some kind of error. I don't believe that's true. I don't think it's useful. Let's get rid of the phrase measurement error. It's not useful. It's not helpful, unless you're trying to blame the department that's taking the data for you. If you're trying to do that, there's nothing I can do to stop you anyway. I'm just saying measurements don't have errors. Measurements have an uncertainty component. If you focus on the measurement uncertainty component, you can make a lot of progress. The basic question still applies. Does the measurement system that you use to support your process provide adequate assurance that you're going to be able to go do what you got to do, or is it exposing you to risk? If you take up the question of measurement uncertainty, you can answer that question for yourself. If you get stuck talking about measurement errors, you're going nowhere. I enjoyed making this video. As I've said before, every time I make one of these videos, I discover stuff that I didn't really understand as well as I thought I did, or realized I needed to relearn or advance further in my knowledge. I hope you found this entertaining. The kids tell me they really enjoyed making the video, and on their behalf, I'd like to thank you for your attention and invite you back for more videos on topics like measurement uncertainty that I just find fascinating. In the meantime, thank you.